sky me, where brains go to broadcast.
Have you ever read something online, maybe shared it, felt pretty confident about it, only to find out later it wasn't quite right?
Oh, absolutely. Happens all the time.
Yeah, it's easy to do. We're just bombarded with information constantly, aren't we? And telling the good stuff from the, well, not so good stuff. That's becoming a really essential skill.
It really is. And that's what we're focusing on today, helping you build that skill set. Think of it like developing a really good filter for all the information coming at you.
Okay, so today we're talking about how to evaluate information effectively, looking at different kinds of sources.
Exactly. We'll break down 4 key things to look for: authority, the audience, and purpose, accuracy, and how current the information is currency.
And then we'll get into the different types, right?
Yeah.
Like scholarly versus popular sources.
Yes, and also those useful substantive news sources.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely unpack the whole peer review process, what it means and why it matters so much for, academic reliability.
Great. By the end, hopefully you'll feel a bit more confident navigating that sea of information.
That's the goal.
Okay, so let's get started. When you first encounter some information, maybe an article or a post, where do you even begin? What's the first hurdle? For me, it's often just, who actually wrote this?
That's exactly the right starting point. Our first pillar is authority. It's all about who created the information.
Great.
And it's not just about a name or a fancy title, it's about relevance. You need to ask, who's the author or the publisher? What makes them qualified to speak on this specific topic?
Credentials, basically.
Credentials, affiliations with respected institutions, yeah. But also, are they actually cited by other experts in the field? That's a big clue. True authority comes with transparency about who they are and why they're credible in this context.
But hold on, even experts have opinions, right? Does authority mean they're automatically unbiased?
That's a really sharp point. No,
Right.
authority doesn't equal pure objectivity. Think about a figure like the late Congressman John Lewis tweeting about civil rights. He had immense authority in that area based on his life's work and public role. Verifiable. But his authority came with a clear perspective, shaped by his experiences.
So he's authoritative on civil rights, but
Sure.
maybe not the final word on, I don't know, astrophysics.
Exactly. Authority confirms who they are and their expertise within their domain. You still need to recognize their viewpoint or potential bias. It's about understanding where they're coming from. Contrast that with, say, some random anonymous comment online. The authority just isn't there to begin with.
That makes sense. Understand the who. Okay, so we've established who is talking. But knowing that isn't the whole picture, is it? We also need to know why they're talking. What's their angle?
Precisely. That leads us straight to our second pillar, audience and purpose. Who is this information actually for, and why was it created in the first place?
Why does that matter so much?
Well, because the intended audience and the creator's goal fundamentally shape the content, the language used, even what information gets included or left out. So you need to ask, is this written for the general public or for specialists? Is it maybe too technical for what you need, or perhaps too simplistic?
And the purpose bit.
Yeah, what's the goal here? Is it just to inform, to teach something specific? Is it trying to sell you something? Or maybe entertain you? Or persuade you to adopt a certain viewpoint? Are the creators upfront about their intentions? Are there any underlying biases, political, commercial, ideological, that might be coloring the message? You need to look for those.
Can't something be informative and persuasive, though, like news commentary?
Absolutely. It often is. That's where you need to be discerning. Think about the difference between, say, Dr. Phil and Albert Einstein.
Okay, quite a contrast.
Right. Dr. Phil speaks to a massive popular audience. He might share information, but the show's purpose clearly includes entertainment, maybe selling books or a certain way of thinking. He's not aiming to add peer-reviewed knowledge to psychology.
Whereas
Einstein was publishing for other scientists. His purpose was very specific. Contribute new, rigorously tested knowledge to physics. The audience and purpose dictate everything. The key insight: don't just assume neutrality. Always ask why.
That's really helpful. Understanding the why changes how you see the what. Okay, so we've got the speaker's authority, their likely purpose, and audience. What about the actual content? Is it, true? What's pillar number 3?
Pillar 3 is accuracy. Is the information factually correct? Is it well supported?
Seems straightforward, but is it?
Well, it can be tricky Because sometimes information can be technically accurate but still misleading.
How so?
By leaving out important context, maybe, or only presenting data that supports one side of the argument, cherry picking. That's a kind of inaccuracy, too. Accuracy by omission.
Sneaky. So what are the warning signs for poor accuracy or that kind of subtle inaccuracy?
Good question. Look for citations. Does the author actually back up their claims with credible sources? Does the evidence they provide really logically support their conclusions? Is the writing clear and well organized? Obvious spelling and grammar mistakes, while maybe small, can sometimes signal a lack of care or editorial oversight.
Okay.
And a big one, was this information reviewed by anyone else before it got to you? Editors, subject experts. That vetting process really boosts confidence and accuracy.
It feels like a lot of detective work sometimes, trying to verify everything. Are there shortcuts?
Being a bit of a detective helps. But yes, there are clues. Think about Wikipedia. You sometimes see those little flags, right? Citation needed.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Most sources aren't quite that transparent, but you can look for similar signs. Claims made without any evidence. Overly sensational language. Relying heavily on just anecdotes instead of data. These are things to watch out for. And often, checking accuracy against what you already figured out about the authority and purpose, giving you a quicker read.
Okay, that makes sense. But here's something I've wondered about. What if a source ticks all the boxes? Great author, clear purpose, seems accurate, but it was published ages ago. Our world changes so fast.
That's a perfect segue to our fourth and final pillar, currency. Is the information up to date enough for your needs?
Enough. So it's not always about being brand new.
Not necessarily. In fields like science, tech, or medicine, yeah, currency is usually vital. Yesterday's breakthrough can be old news today. But for other topics, maybe history or philosophy, older sources can be essential. Foundational texts, historical accounts, their value isn't diminished by age. Sometimes the most current truth on a historical event is in an old document.
Interesting paradox, so it depends on the topic.
Exactly. The key questions are, when was this published or last updated? Have newer findings come out since then that might change the picture? And crucially, does your specific question demand cutting-edge information, or is historical context more important?
Can you give an example?
Sure. If you're researching, say, the latest treatments for a disease, a medical paper from 1966 probably isn't your best primary source.
Right, definitely not.
Unless, maybe, you were studying how medical understanding has evolved. See the difference. Context is everything. And learning to use date filters in databases and search engines, that's a practical skill that really helps manage currency.
Okay, got it. Authority, audience purpose, accuracy, currency. Those are the 4 big checks. So now that we have these tools, let's talk about the different types of sources we actually find this information in. Because like you said, a tweet isn't the same as a scientific journal.
Absolutely. Knowing the type of source is a huge shortcut in the evaluation process. And when you're doing research, especially for school or work, you'll definitely encounter a mix.
Right.
And importantly, no single type is inherently bad. It just depends on what you need it for. Think of it like tools. You need the right tool for the job.
Okay, so let's start with the most common ones, the things we see every day, popular sources. What are they good for?
Popular sources, think magazines, newspapers, popular websites, are great for getting a general overview of a topic, staying up to date on current events, or gauging public opinion. They can even be primary sources if you're studying them historically, like reading a 1950s magazine to understand culture back then.
And how do we spot them?
They're usually written for a general audience, so the language is accessible. You'll often see lots of images, maybe ads. Articles tend to be shorter, a couple of pages at most. And a key thing, they almost never have a formal bibliography or list of references.
Who usually writes them?
Typically journalists or staff writers. They're skilled communicators, but usually not specialists in the specific topic they're covering that day. And the editing process focuses on clarity, style, maybe fact-checking basic details, but not deep scholarly review.
So good for a quick look, but maybe not for building a really deep academic argument. What's the next step up then? The sources we often need for university work.
That would be scholarly sources. These are all about presenting original research or in-depth analysis within a specific academic field. Their goal is to contribute new knowledge.
And where do we find those?
Primarily in academic journals, you'll often see terms like peer-reviewed or refereed associated with them.
Peer review. We'll come back to that.
Definitely. The content is written for other scholars and students in that field. So expect specialized language, maybe complex data presented in charts or graphs.
What do they look like?
They look quite different from popular sources. Usually very few, if any, ads or glossy pictures. Articles are much longer, often 10, 20 pages or more, and crucially, they always include a detailed list of references or citations.
Okay.
You'll also often see the author's academic affiliations listed, maybe an abstract, which is a short summary, and keywords. The authority rests squarely with researchers and scholars in that field.
And the big difference is that editorial process. You mentioned peer review. Can you unpack that a bit more? What exactly is it?
Right, peer review is the cornerstone of scholarly publishing. Before an article gets published in a peer-reviewed journal, it's sent out to several other experts' peers in the exact same field. These experts read it critically. They assess the originality of the research, the soundness of the methods used, the validity of the conclusions, its relevance to the field, even the clarity of the writing. They provide feedback to the author and recommend to the editor whether to publish it, revise it, or reject it.
So it's like a quality control system run by experts.
Exactly. It's a rigorous vetting process designed to ensure the work meets the standards of the academic discipline. It's not foolproof, but it adds a significant layer of credibility that you just don't get with popular articles, which are typically just reviewed by editors for style and grammar.
That distinction feels really important for judging reliability. Now, you mentioned a third category, kind of a mix.
Yes, those substantive news sources. These are really valuable because they kind of bridge the gap between popular and scholarly.
Examples.
Think of publications like The Economist, The New York Times, The Wall Street Journal, maybe Scientific American. High-quality journalism.
Okay, I know those.
Their articles are aimed at an educated audience, but not necessarily specialists. They cover complex topics in more depth than typical popular sources. Articles are often longer, well-researched, and written by experienced journalists or sometimes even scholars.
Do they have references?
Usually not in the formal way a scholarly article does, though they often mention their sources within the text. They might have images or some ads, but the focus is on in-depth reporting and analysis.
And the review process.
They have strong editorial review processes, checking for accuracy, clarity, and fairness, but and this is key, they don't typically undergo the formal external peer review process that scholarly articles do. Still highly credible for many purposes, but it's a different kind of credibility.
That's a really useful breakdown of the types.
Yeah.
Okay, so bringing it all together, what are the main things you, our listener, should take away from all this? How do we use this in practice?
I think there are 3 key things. First, make those 4 checks: authority, audience purpose, accuracy, currency, or reflex. Actively look for clues about them in everything you read or consume. Don't just passively accept information.
Right, be an active evaluator.
Second, understand that source types exist on a spectrum. There's gray area. Choose the source type that best fits your specific need at that moment. Are you just getting background? Or do you need deep, original research? Tailor your sources to your goal.
Makes sense. And the third thing?
Remember the significance of peer review. It's not the only mark of quality, but it represents a particularly rigorous process of expert scrutiny for scholarly work. Understanding that helps you weigh the credibility of different claims, especially in academic contexts.
Fantastic summary. It really feels like having these tools and understanding these types gives you more control, more confidence in navigating information.
It absolutely does.
So, here's something to think about as we wrap up. How might consciously applying these checks, authority, audience, accuracy, currency, actually change how you engage with information starting right now? How might it shift your perspective on the news you read, the social media you scroll through, even the conversations you have? Give it a try. Practice using these filters. Ask those critical questions.
Keep questioning, keep learning.
Exactly. Until next time, keep learning.
Cascade me where brains go to broadcast. Cascade me, knowledge speaks, tuition sleeps.